Okay, so this is the first time I've ever done this. And bear with me because my brain's kind of damaged. So I might be a little slow. I just wanted to get this out there for people who just literally are having problems in life because it can get hard. And if any of you are having a hard time now, just take a deep breath and know that everything will be okay. If you're like me, I want these videos fast. I want it to be like, boom, I know what she's talking about. Like, all right, now we can move on to a next recording because I don't want to have to watch a 2-hour recording like I'm getting at. Okay, so I'm gonna start off as I grew up in Burlington, Iowa, and let's just say it's a very small town and word gets around about everything to everybody. And the class that I was in was 2010, and we all liked to party, let's just say that. But I started partying in a little bit earlier because I was hanging out with the wrong people. Believe me, at the end of this gets good because I'll tell you about how I survived dying and stuff like that. But I just want to tell you about how I led up to now. I drank a lot. I have alcoholism in my family, hardcore, like on both sides. And so I started drinking at like 14, my best friend, 13. And then, so from then on, I liked drinking, I liked pills, I liked partying, and thought it was cool. Like, it's not cool now, it's like, what the hell was I thinking? Anyway, so I'm skipping so much because I just want to get to the end. At age 23, I had broken up with my first boyfriend, and it was bad. And I ended up getting really drunk all the time. But this time I ended up getting drunk and hurting myself. So I was talking to my friend, drunk, and I decided to lean back on this wall that wasn't behind me and fell down 12 concrete stairs. I got a skull fracture and brain bleeding in 3 different spots. Was supposed to get airlifted to Iowa City, but due to the weather, I couldn't. But I survived that. I was in ICU for a week. I can't smell or taste anymore. That happened in like 2014. Okay. Anyway, so let's see. Then after that, I decided I don't give a shit. So I've smoked crack, I've smoked meth, I've done all that stuff, and the worst thing that got to me was the heroin. I was on that for a year, and it was hard. I had to get off of that. I was snorting it, I wasn't injecting it, but it made me today, the good thing about, not saying it was good, but the thing that was good about the outcome was that I no longer drink or smoke. Well, I vape, but I don't like getting messed up anymore because nothing adds up to as good as heroin feels, if that makes sense. Anyway, so after that happened, I ended up moving to Texas because my fiance, I met him in Iowa because he came up to Iowa for a fertilizer plant. He's a surveyor for Access Surveyors. And he pretty much stole my heart. Ew. And so, finally I decided to move down here. Down here. And everything went great, awesome. We'd been together for like 3 years or 2 years. And then I got pregnant. And The pregnancy was the best pregnancy you could ever ask for. I only got sick like 2 times. It was great. But then I don't know. Let's just get to that night that I'm trying to get to, okay? So I'm just in my kitchen in here, in there, right there. And my fiance actually drove that night to Dallas, Texas, which is 7 hours away from here. And that night, I walk into the kitchen and all of a sudden I feel boom, and I couldn't breathe, and it hit my heart. It's called a massive bilateral pulmonary embolism. Oh my God, my cat. And I felt it right here. Right here. And come on, kitty. Come on. Okay. And so I stopped and I'm like, and then I go and then I'm like, what am I doing? What is going on? And literally breathing like that. And I come in here, lay down, drenched in sweat, dripping. And I'm having an anxiety attack. So I call my sister and then I'm like, my heart starts hurting. And I'm like, oh. And she's like, Nat, it's fine. You're just having an anxiety attack. So I'm like, okay, let me get off the phone. And so I call my friend that lives kind of in the neighborhood. I asked her if I could have one of her Xanax, like half of one. It kicked in, but it wasn't helping. So I actually was like to one of my friends, or my sister, one of them, I was like, do you think it's a blood clot? And they're like, no. And so I'm like, okay. And then later, my lips and my fingernails turn purple, and I looked it up, and all the side effects say, get to the emergency room right now. I go to the emergency room, and they gave me fentanyl, and I'm like, ugh. And then I heard my baby's heart rate. It was like 127. And then I hardly remember anything. I just remember being in the ambulance, driving to Galveston. And the whole way there, I have no idea. Nobody knows why I didn't get airlifted. It was an hour and a half to get there by ambulance. The ferry takes like 15 minutes just to get across the water. But luckily the hospital is right like 5 minutes from the ferry. The whole way there, breathing. Mind you, this was 3 hours before I decided to go. So another hour. And then when we got there, I was like the whole way there, I was like, oh my God, how much longer? The max, I was maxed out on air. They were giving me air. And I wasn't helping. And the first person that gets there is Eric's dad, Mitch. Thank you. He gets there and he sees my condition. He was the first one there. He was there before me. He got pulled over driving so fast and still makes it. And he sees me, and I just remember seeing him, and I just remember saying, can't breathe. And I was saying, I can't do it much longer. And I'm like, but in my head, I'm like, I'm going to survive this. I was blacking in and out, but I guess I was conscious. Like, I wasn't conscious, but I was awake, and I was talking to everybody. And all I remember was the doctor saying, your baby is dead. We need to take him out in order for you to survive. I said, take him out. It was terrible. They gave me like, whatever it's called, it makes your blood just completely like water, just to break this huge embolism that latched onto both of my lungs. And it made my heart work so hard that it was 3 times bigger than what your heart should be. And it was clot in both of my lungs, so I could not breathe. I just remember once they sedated me and stuff, I was like, take me. And I remember them putting the tube down my throat because it didn't have time to really have me passed out, all the way. I felt them putting the tube in, my tube, for breathing. I felt them literally cut. I'll show you. My stomach, all the way from the bottom to the top, it's all the way from my pubic bone to the top. I felt them cut all the way up there, and I thought, well, in my head, I was paralyzed and my eyes were closed, and I felt like this can't get any worse. So I can do this. I can make this. This will be okay. Nothing can be worse than this. That's what I was saying to myself. I heard a little bit of talking, and then afterwards, I guess it was like a 12-hour long. I bled out. They had 30 bags of blood going through me. I don't know actually if that's the right amount, but it probably was more. And also, I coded for 30 minutes. And what I saw when I coded was it was all dark and it was just me floating. And it was no talking. It was just my brain talking. And I was like, this is what my brain said. It was like, I was floating and I was like, that's demonic to my left. Now, it wasn't scary or anything, but then I looked to my right and I saw a yellow light, and there was no time. I was just there. And so I kept on, they sewed me up and stuff, kept sewing me up like 3 times or 2 times. I kept bleeding, so they had to come in and open me up, and then finally they were just like, all right, well, you're gonna keep her open. So they had to bandage me up because she keeps on bleeding, like it starts bleeding again, so they don't want to like go back in. Finally I stopped bleeding and got me on ECMO, life support. So this machine's breathing for me so my heart can actually relax a little bit. And I heard my family come in, and I couldn't talk. I was paralyzed. My eyes were glued shut. The only thing I remember I could do was move my eyebrows like that. And I heard everybody come in. My mom, my aunt, my sister, Eric, everybody, Tina, everybody. And I heard them all talking and saying, it's gonna be okay, Nat. And all I wanted to do was get out and say, hey, I'm fine. I'm right here. I'm alive. I can hear you guys. But I couldn't. And I was even so pissed at the point to where I would pee to give them some sign that I'm like awake. I don't know how that would help them think that. But then they're like, oh, good, her kidneys are working good. And I'm like, oh, I have a catheter in. I was trying, and then they were talking about how, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk, I don't want to see, I don't know if she would be okay if I could see her baby Carter, like how she wouldn't be able to see, and them holding him while I was asleep and I wasn't able to hold him, and I wanted to jump out of my body and say, hold my son. So finally the nurse was like, you want to see this baby. She comes in with the baby and I hear all this. He's beautiful. And I heard my mom and sister say, he's gorgeous. And everybody held him and it was quiet. And all I wanted to do was see him. All I wanted to do was open my eyes. And I was trying so hard to open my eyes and see him. But luckily they took pictures, and I'll show you, if you want, I'll show you some pictures at the end. I'll tell you, like, I'm gonna show you them so that if people don't want to see it, they don't have to. But I want people to know how gorgeous Eric and my son was and is. He's gorgeous and a beautiful soul. I was in a coma for a week, and Eric was there every single night except for one, because they wanted him to get out and get some sleep, because he was awake the whole time, watching the monitors every hour, had them having to deal with me, and he just couldn't sleep. He was so scared. And when I was in surgery, he got there, and he was in the hallway, like sitting in the hallway, and he heard one of the nurses say, "It's a mess in there." Honestly, I really would rather have, I don't know how to explain this. I would rather me have what happened to me. I can't explain it. The pain that I put my family through, the loved ones, how scared they had to have been. Eric, everybody has PTSD from this experience. From waiting, not knowing. Oh my God. Eric and Mitchell, Eric's dad, everybody is so amazing in this family that I wouldn't be able to survive. I wouldn't be able to survive without my family and my friends. I don't remember what I was talking about. But anyway, oh, and then the morgue called when I got out of the ICU. Oh, there's something in my eyelash. The morgue called and said, "You gotta get here before the funeral." Like, it was like 2 days before the funeral. "You gotta get here." We were like, okay. And so we get there, and she said, "I've never seen anything like this. Anybody never has held up this beautiful." My son looked like he was a newborn, and he'd been sitting in the morgue for a long time. I got to hold my son. That was him up there. He let me hold my son while I was awake. On my birthday, I had to find a place to bury my son, but I didn't care. I wanted him to be, and I found the place that I wanted to bury him, and it was rainy, and I looked down at the ground, and I saw a butterfly, and it was raining, and it was really weird because you never see butterflies when it rains. I'm like, I really have a good feeling this is the place. Come to find out later, Eric's family is in that graveyard from years ago, that he didn't even know of. God, there's so much more that. Anyway, so I was in a coma for a week, and I couldn't talk, so I was getting pissed off because nobody could understand. And I had writings that I later on just now saw of me trying to talk to them with my tube in, but I was so weak I couldn't write, and I was getting so mad. So finally they took my tube out so I could breathe on my own, thank God. And they said that, she's not gonna be able to feel this. She's not gonna be able to remember this because she's gonna be she's sedated. They took my tube out. It was the worst thing ever. The worst thing ever. And come to find out, I have to get my IVC filter taken out this Friday. I'm gonna have to have another tube down my throat. Anyway, I know that there's so much more that I could talk to you guys about. It took me forever, like, it's been almost a year, and I'm finally just now being able to walk around and feel fine. My rib hurts from where they had to put the drain in for my lungs or something, and it looks like somebody shot me there. But I don't know why, but it feels like the cartilage, they might have went through my cartilage, and my rib hurts all the time still, and it gets, but who cares, I'm still alive. I will, by the miracle of Jesus, seriously, like, I can still have babies. And the day after my birthday, Eric proposed to me, and we are going to get married. I don't know when, but it's okay because we have our whole lives ahead of us. Life is still kind of hard, but it's way better than it was. 2018, I was 26, 27 now. I died when I was 26. 27 is like a rebirth for me now, okay? If you are having problems out there, and you just know that if I can do things like that, you guys can definitely do anything you could possibly dream of. I've watched videos of people saying that to me, like saying that through the video, saying, oh, you'll be fine, you can do anything you want. I'm like, God, girl, that's not, no, I can't, I'm not gonna do that. I won't be able to do that, but you can. You can. Took me about like a long time to be able to walk because I was so weak. I literally couldn't even lift up my hand from being in a coma for a week. All right, so I'm gonna show you, just to wrap this up, if you want to see my son, I'm gonna show you a few pictures. He's gorgeous to me. And I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna show you guys. And then when I say I'm done, then you can look at the camera. Okay, here's my son, Carter Joseph Brackett. 1, 2, 3. He was perfect. And look at that hair. He had my hair.